guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about another fucked up case. As usual, I do have a bias here and I'll tell you once I read the headline so everything is a little bit more contextualized. Purple Heart recipient accused of raping teen stepdaughter, then faking suicide, caught in trailer park, authorities say. Jacob Scott has been on the run since 2018 when authorities say he tried to stage his own death to avoid child rape charges. What a shit show of a headline. There is so much information to process. There's rape, there's faking suicide, there's being caught, there's a lot of stuff going on. The one thing I did want to be transparent about is that I have a particular contempt for people who fake their own deaths, mainly because that actually happened to me. Someone actually on YouTube faked their own death and went to the point of getting their counselor to email me saying, oh yeah, so-and-so's dead, they found his body. You are the person they wanted to contact. Needless to say, it's very traumatic for the people around the person who fakes their death, so of course his crimes in and of themselves are terrible, but if I seem particularly angry about that one part, it's because it hits close to home. A Mississippi military veteran who allegedly raped and impregnated his teenage stepdaughter and who authorities say staged a fake suicide was apprehended by U.S. Marshals this week. Jacob Blair Scott was arrested in a trailer park in Antlers, Oklahoma around midnight on Wednesday, authorities said. Earlier that day, Scott was added to U.S. Marshals Service's 15 most wanted fugitives list. Authorities said a tipster called the sheriff's office to report an individual fitting Scott's description. Our Oklahoma office coordinated with the local sheriff's office there and they approached that RV. U.S. Marshals Inspector Jeremy Stillwell told Oxygen.com. Once they got there, they surrounded it. They made call-outs trying to get people inside the RV to come out. Scott eventually emerged but initially denied his identity, Stillwell said. However, authorities confirmed his identity using tattoos the man had, and he was later arrested. This all-out media blitz led to a critical citizen tip that ultimately resulted in the fastest apprehension of a fugitive in the 37-year history of the 15 Most Wanted program. Jeff Taylor, Assistant Director for Investigative Operations, added in a statement. When I read the headline, when I initially read this article before the video, I thought, okay, this sounds bad enough as is. But then the fact that he raped and impregnated his teenage stepdaughter. I don't even know really what to say. You know when you see so many heinous and disgusting things back to back that you don't even really know if there's an appropriate word to describe the feeling? I'm glad this person was caught, but it really is extremely cowardly to fake your own death, to run away from things that you caused, that are entirely your fault and that you should be taking responsibility for. Now, of course, I don't expect most criminals to turn themselves in, but that being said, I really do think it's a new level of cowardice for criminals to fake their own deaths in order to not pay the consequences, let alone to a fucking family member. Like, this is your fucking stepdaughter. And then the fact that she got pregnant. Now, I don't know, you know, what happened with that, if she carried the child to term. I don't know what happened, but it's so, the trauma she must have gone through. I can't. Also, about the tattoos, if you're a criminal, it's really best not to get tattoos because that is the easiest way that people will identify you, even if you change your entire appearance. So clearly, if I wanted to be a criminal, I'd be boned, but genuinely, I've seen so many cases where criminals have been apprehended because of their tattoos, so I'm not mad about it because this guy was caught, but it's just almost laughable as an excuse to be like, oh no, I'm not that person, I just have all the same identical tattoos and similar features, so dumbass. Authorities had previously described Scott as a survivalist with a knowledge of the outdoors. He was deployed in Iraq, officials said, and earned a Purple Heart in 2011 after being wounded. There had been earlier reported sightings of him in Colorado, Nevada, and Louisiana. His military background and knowledge of the outdoors may enable him to live off the grid, marshals said. Scott was charged in 2017 on a sprawling 14-count indictment related to the sexual assault of a minor relative, according to an indictment obtained by Oxygen.com. He was charged with 9 counts of sexual battery, 4 counts of touching a child for lustful purposes, and 1 count of exploitation. U.S. Marshals Service Director Donald Washington referred to the child rape accusations against Scott as unspeakable. I do think that the fact that they apprehended him knowing that he is a survivalist and that he has been deployed, so he has more knowledge of the outdoors than the average person, Like, I'm actually genuinely surprised they found him, because I do think that he could have managed to live relatively off the grid. So I'm happy he was caught, because I feel like compared to any other person who doesn't really understand the outdoors or know how to operate in the outdoors, he would have been harder to find had he made better choices, I suppose, in terms of how to hide himself. I don't know. The 14-year-old victim was Scott's stepdaughter, and DNA testing confirmed that he also impregnated her, authorities said. Authorities let me know early that they caught him, the mother of Scott's alleged victim told the Sun Herald. We're very happy, and my daughter just cried. She feels safe now. Dude, that's so fucking sad. That's so... Can you imagine someone that you trust, or you're supposed to trust, you're supposed to be able to trust your family. Ideally speaking, of course, there are different situations, there are toxic people, but ideally your family should be people you can trust, or at least that you feel safe around, right? The fact that he took advantage of his position and his age and his manipulation, I'm assuming, because there's obviously a power imbalance, is so disgusting. And that poor 14-year-old, like, I really hope she's going to therapy or doing something, you know, in order to process the kind of trauma she endured, because I cannot imagine at all. Scott was suspected of faking his own death in 2018 in order to avoid the charges against him. His boat was found abandoned about a mile off Orange Beach along the Gulf Coast, allegedly with a note from him and a handgun tied to a rope, according to the Sun Herald. The girl's family had suspected all along that Scott wasn't actually dead. We knew the whole time that he was alive, and everybody tried to say he was dead, and we kept telling him he was alive, the mother added. All of this pretty much ruined our whole life. It has caused so much stress and heartache. Scott is expected to be extradited from Oklahoma to stand trial in Mississippi, officials said. He's currently being held at the Pittsburgh County Jail. Like I said at the beginning, this criminal has so many various layers that just make this crime more and more disgusting, like rape, as we well know, needless to say, unspeakable. On top of that, it being his stepdaughter. On top of that, he actually impregnated her. And on top of that, he doesn't even have the courage to own up to what he did, so he runs away and pretends to be dead. Meanwhile, the mother and his stepdaughter are going through it. Like, I can't even imagine the kind of stress, especially the fear of knowing that someone who abused you like that is still out and about, and everyone's like, no, he's dead. Like, that would drive me. I feel like that would put me in a very dark place mentally. Like, of course you're in a dark place already because of the trauma, but on top of that, the kind of having to fight to make people believe, oh yeah, I know he's still alive. I'm just glad he was apprehended. I hope he gets the maximum time possible, to be honest, because it does sound like I mean, I think we can establish that he's dangerous, and the fact that he has, like I said, this knowledge of the outdoors and is a survivalist, to me, is more concerning, because he could do this again, then go missing again, and who knows if he would get caught again, you know? All I'm gonna say is that when the other inmates find out what he is being imprisoned for, it's not gonna be a good time for him there. So anyways, guys, let me know how much time you think you should get, what you think generally. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.